first of its kind in the nation, and the states of New York and Colorado recently voted to take on the issue. Dozens of cities from coast to coast, including San Francisco, Boston, Los Angeles, and Detroit, have started their own reparations commissions. One of the first known reparationists was Callie House, who toured the nation advocating for reparations in the 1890s. But never in this nation's history has the movement to heal the harms of enslavement, institutionalized racism, and the system of white supremacy seemed so strong. The topic remains untouchable for most elected officials, and the call for reparations has not yet garnered widespread public support. Polling shows that most Californians agree that black fellow citizens are still suffering from the damage done by slavery and Jim Crow, but they still do not support cash reparations. The California Legislative Black Caucus has introduced a package of proposals for bills that do not include 1 penny of cash compensation, restitution, or repair. Governor Newsom and other lawmakers have distanced themselves from the concept of cash payments. While Newsom is right, cash alone will not repair our collective harm, the state's goofy legislative package ignoring monetary payments is disingenuous. California lawmakers need to step up and put a reparations bill for cash payments on the table. The issue of how it is funded, the timeline, or whether it impacts our current budget challenges can be addressed. But we must strike while the iron is hot, or the window of opportunity will pass us by. If you agree that it's time for our lawmakers to add a bill enacting cash payments to their lineup, call them at 916-319-3868 and say, if it doesn't include cash, it ain't reparations. That's 916-319-3868. Tell him Callie House sent you. From Bruce's Beach to the California Task Force, the Golden State is a trailblazer when it comes to reparations. The world is watching. We must rise to the historical moment and set a precedent for cash payments along with legislative remedies and policies addressing the systemic badges of slavery and Jim Crow. We must insist on measures significant enough to help close the racial wealth gap. California must stand for cash, and the time for reparations is now. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dominique DePrima. We welcome your comments.
I'm Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. If your relationship is in trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your soulmate become your cellmate? Does black love still exist? What are your bedroom turnoffs? Fantasies and fetishes. Financial infidelity. I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait? Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy stuff?
The child wasn't his, and he still had to pay child support.
It's a very heated topic.
How was that right?
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to ask you.
I just like to kiss. Is there something wrong with that?
Damn.
He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Betrayal has been committed.
Hit you with the bad pipes routine.
How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my neck.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do you write women so well?
Zoe Williams,
Reason and accountability.
the voice of reason.
I think it does us a great disservice to see videos or watch videos or listen to podcasts or read books that try to sell us this idea that we too can go from this attachment style to secure forever and always. As someone who has truly nerded out and read so much research around attachment theory, and I know it's not a perfect theory like everything else in psychology in the world, the general idea of the childhood that you're in shapes your body, your nervous system, and your relationship expectations, to me is a profound and very helpful way to understand where we might struggle in relationships with ourselves and others. But I don't like this idea that, people are saying, this is how I went from, let's say, anxious to secure forever and always, like I said, because I just know with every ounce of who I am that it is.
See, listen, Western science has a Western thought process. The Western thought process is based on empirical study, empirical data, right? It's based on the scientific method. Things have to be replicable, right? And what's interesting about what the young lady is saying, it puts you in the mindset of, again, the great Krishnamurti. You thought you were going to get a show without him? Wrong. Huh? What did Krishnamurti say? She's saying, oh, yeah, I started dismissive avoidant, or I started fearful avoidant, or I started anxious preoccupied, and now I'm forever securely attached. Listen to what Krishnamurti has to say. There is no end to relationship. There may be the end of a particular relationship, but relationship can never end. Listen, to be is to be related. Now, I want y'all to go deeper here. Krishnamurti. See, even the securely attached are still born into the toxic society in which he talked about. It is no measure of health to be fully integrated, to be fully acclimated into a toxic or into a sick society, right? Well, if you're modeling your home, you're also modeling the society. So you may come up in a home that's pretty much secure and then be made anxious when you get out into the world. This is the part of Bowlby and Ainsworth's work that has not been proven as falsifiable yet. But on a spiritual level, you're starting to see a toxic world produces toxic people. Our conflict is in relationship at all levels of our existence. And the understanding of this relationship completely and extensively is the only real problem that each one of us has. That's Krishnamurti on relationships. Please understand, relationship is your classroom. And guess what? You're the subject. You are the curriculum. No one can live without relationship. You may withdraw into the mountains, become a monk, a sensei, wander off into the desert by yourself, but you are related. You cannot escape from that absolute fact. No one, you cannot exist in isolation. We try to isolate ourselves while we're in relationships. We are stratified like our social media platforms. You know how you can't reach all your fans? All the people that follow, all your followers can't reach you. You put a post out, you got 12,000 people, only 60 people respond. That's because Facebook has it stratified. Oh, I got to pay for a certain service that allows my post to reach everybody. You like that in relationships. In relationships, there can be no dominion or submission. It must be a sharing of love, a sharing of joy. Here's the biggest piece. A sharing of pain. Once your partner causes you pain, he, she is the villain. Tell the truth. Once your partner hurts you, for most people, that's murder, she wrote. They're going to hold on to that hurt. They're going to hold on to that resent, and that's going to corrode the relationship over time. For most people. Right? Ain't that dusty? That's spiritually dusty, right? Am I wrong? Is that spiritually dusty or no? Okay, cool. Here we go. We got callers on the line. Let's get them in here. Who's been on along? Attila, Houston, Texas. Get in here.
Yo, what's up? How
What's
are you?
happening? I'm good. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Well, you know, this has been really, really good. I'm liking how you framed everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to kind of speak to something you mentioned about the whole I deserve. Lord, I don't know why that irks my soul when people talk about what they deserve. It sounds like begging to me. And I'm gonna tell you.
Go ahead. I'm
gonna tell you why. Because I feel like people are often looking to be served instead of having the heart of a servant, right? The Bible talks about this a lot. And the issue with that is, you know, if I really see myself as that person, as royalty or whatever. I don't need to beg to wear a crown. It's just there. So I think when we're talking about attachment styles, there's certain things that each attachment style, insecure attachment style, is longing for, right? To me, what I notice with anxious avoidance, I can spot it a mile away. They need that validation. And it's not like it's naturally coming to you. You are looking for, searching for, fishing for this validation. For fearful avoidance, like myself, I think we often tend to look for stability within other people because we have a hard time regulating within ourselves that same stability. And for dismissives, they're looking for compassion, which makes sense why they would be interested in someone who's anxious, preoccupied, because they give it freely, but it comes at a cost. So
yeah, you got to give it back. We got a battery, don't we?
Okay. See, but that's the problem, though. You got to give it back. Nobody has to do anything.
No, you're right.
And I think that's something that we have yet. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's something we have yet to understand, right? Especially if you're not willing to give it to yourself. I think a lot of us tend to deal with spiritual lethargy, right? Or lethargy, however you want to say it. We be kind of lazy sometimes.
Lethargy, I'm with you. Let's go. You cooking. Keep going.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Like, we be kind of lazy because think about it. Like, when you're talking about balancing out the dynamic, because I think that's the thing that makes us love a quality in one person and then hate it in the next minute, right? Like, we love the fact that the person is so attentive in the beginning and then we call them clingy later. Why? Because you can't balance, you haven't reconciled that thing within yourself. You don't know how to soothe yourself a lot of times if you're someone who's anxious, preoccupied, right? And so if you're kind of like the Energizer Bunny and just going, someone who's avoidant might see that as attractive because they lack, right, that openness. But then they resent you for it later on. So I say all that to say that I think we really like seeing ourselves in the eyes of other people. And then the reality hits and it's not that fun anymore, right? If you're avoidant, I think we should stay away from words like clingy because you're creating that dynamic, and it's also invalid in your eyes because you're detached from yourself. So someone clinging to you is foreign because you're not attached to yourself. It's like clinging to a ghost. It just doesn't make any sense. If you're anxious, the concept of detachment is invalid for you because you're enmeshed and engrossed in the other person. So, and then for fearful, it's hard for me to really come up with something because, again, we're just kind of schizophrenic. We're a little all over the place. But even though I feel like fearful avoidance get the bad rap, I feel like in terms of becoming, getting that little golden star of, securely attached, I feel like we will be closer. Don't fight me on this. I feel like we will be closer for the simple fact that if you can learn to understand yourself and understand your cycles, then it's easier for you to balance it out because you have issues on both sides. And you can rectify it versus someone who maybe leads really hard to one way and could possibly flip to the other way in the event that they have an adverse relationship experience. But that's all I got.
Fire. Attila from Houston, Texas. Girl, she's committed. Guess what you just did?
I brought Houston in the building.
Houston, Texas is in the building. If you want to bring your city in the building, all you got to do to join the party is call 1-800-920-1580. We having a real conversation.
Reasons. The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we fear, our feelings won't disappear. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, We will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. Helping to broaden your political and moral imagination with our 2024 climate justice campaign. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Classism is a form of discrimination that is based on social class or economic status. It involves treating people differently based on their background or the amount of money they have. Just like racism and sexism, classism can have serious negative effects on people's lives. Classism has a long history, dating back centuries. In the past, social classes were more clearly defined, with aristocrats and nobility at the top and peasants and laborers at the bottom. This created a rigid social hierarchy that was difficult to break out of. Today, while social classes are less clear-cut, classism still exists, and the gap between the rich and poor continues to widen.
Can the same concept be applied to relationships? The laborers are on the bottom. Relationship is work. You heard that, right? You can't take time off. Well, maybe you can, right? But you can't constantly take time off. Relationship requires work. Because guess what? If you're not working on yourself, no matter how much time you take off for vacation, right? you take your problems with you to the resort. Do you know people with wealth, their marriages last 6 to 9 years, according to Benjamin Carney out of UCLA, relationship scientist. 6 to 9 years before divorce. People with no wealth, their relationships last 3 to 6 years. So you got wealth. You just get 3 more years because you have leisure time. But wherever you go to relax, if you're not doing the inner work, guess what? You're taking those problems with you. Let's get these callers in here. Nzinga, Pensacola, Florida. Talk to me.
Evening.
What are your thoughts?
Good evening, Mr. Zill. How are you doing?
I'm good. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic? Good. Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. Just 2 quick things because I know you got other people waiting. But when you said that someone can get with someone who has first you say that your attachments can change based on how you work on yourself. Your attachments can change. Mm-hmm. So when you said someone with a secure attachment may get with someone, let's say, who is avoidant, they can possibly turn them into a preoccupied, because that's the one who's gonna, when the avoidant is pulling away, that's the one that's gonna cling to them and try to find out what's going on and just kind of dig in.
Make them anxious.
Correct?
Yeah, make them anxious.
Make them anxious. But that type of thing, like when you said that, I just heard Jay-Z say, "Good girl gone bad," and I think that's kind of sometimes that's kind of glorified a little bit. In our culture, to get a girl who's a good girl and then flip her, and then next thing you know, she's toxic as well. Mm-hmm. And you said something else. You said you said something about the change behavior and how you can't, a person has to want to change. But when you said that, I thought repenting versus repentance, because someone will promise change behavior, but they keep, and to me that's like they're repenting, but they're not truly changing to me, which is the repentance, which is the change behavior. Mm-hmm. So I think you say that somebody wants to, but a lot of times I think people make the promise to do it. It's not that the person, the person who's being victimized, and I guess I don't want to call somebody a victim, but the person who's being victimized, the purpose is not changing. So when you said, a healing has to occur on their own and people have to want to do it, sometimes people make promises, I think, and they don't stand on them. And that's what reminded me when you said that.
Man, I love you, Miss Nzinga. Thank you for calling in. Guess what you just
You're
did?
welcome. I brought Pensacola in the building.
Pensacola, Florida is in the building because of our friend Nzinga. If you want to bring your city in the building, all you got to do is call me, 1-800-920-1580. That is the number to participate, to engage. Engage with me tonight. This is a great topic, and a lot of people got a lot of things to say. Let's get Ken from Birmingham, Alabama. Ken, you got to turn your entire living room down. We can hear the feedback.
Dang, bro, my fault.
That's all right. And Ken, no profanity. I got to tell you, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, what are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
I really appreciate the first call to the lady.
Wait, hold on 1 second, Ken. Ken, what are you on? You on the speakerphone? Yeah, headphones?
Yeah.
You got to take all of that off, my friend. This is feedback.
Okay, I apologize.
No worries,
bro. Now?
Once you take that off, you just, right. Yeah, there you go. You better now. Let's go.
So I appreciate the first lady she called. She spoke about a lot of people about, like not doing the self-work on yourself first, and then they go into a relationship where it might be detrimental for them. My thoughts would be, what would you do as not just a young black man, but just a young man in general that's honestly trying to better himself, but he deals with maybe anxiety issues or, maybe like coming out of bad relationships, stuff like that. Like, what would you recommend a young man like that?
So my whole thing with that, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, And my thing is this. Most of us go into relationships, right? And we're looking for this person to provide to us what we really have never been taught how to provide for ourselves, right? So I'm always encouraging people to observe themselves, right? I learned this through trial and error. When I go into a relationship, early on, I used to be like, oh man, this is going to be the one that's going to love on me. This is going to be the one that's going to bring me all of the things that, you know, maybe I didn't get when I was a kid. This is the one that's going to nurture and care and do all of this stuff, right? But then I started to see how I show up when I don't get that, or see how I show up in moments of conflict. I always encourage people to do a self-observation journal, because whatever you see that shows up in yourself that needs your attention, that's your work. You hear me when I say relationship is a mirror. You're attracting certain type of people into your life to expose you to you. So if you get somebody you don't like, or you get somebody you think is toxic, or you get somebody you think is problematic, in a lot of ways, it's a mirror image of certain aspects of yourself. They might not be exact aspects, but there are certain aspects. How is it that they're able to trigger me? You have to be able to see, what is this trigger connected to? What behavior from them, and what behavior does their external trigger manifest in me? And once you figure it out, you go, oh, okay, this is how I behave. Then you got to say, why do I behave this way? Oh, let's figure out who John Bowlby is. Let's figure out who Mary Ainsworth is. Let's figure out Dr. David R. Hawkins. Let's figure out Krishnamurti. Let's dig deep. Let's figure out Piaget. Let's go deep and figure out this relationship and this psychology stuff, so I can see what I modeled when I was a child, so I can at least be able to identify it and understand it when it manifests, and I might be able to mitigate some of the activity on my end. And if I can do that, I might be able to attract different types of people than the same lessons that keep coming through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, man. I appreciate you. I'm gonna look up them offers too.
Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Ken, he brought Alabama in the building. If you want to bring your city in the building, all you got to do is call me, 1-800-920-1580. When I come forward, we're going to Dallas, Texas. We're going to Jacksonville, Florida. We got callers. Let's go.
He's on fire tonight. It's the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A judge is ruling there will be no delay in former President Trump's hush money criminal case. The case is related to alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. The judge rejected Trump's request for an additional delay and said jury selection will start on April 15th. Trump's lawyers argued that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg was late in turning over documents related to key witnesses and they needed more time, but the judge said Bragg, who was black, was not at fault. Trump pleaded not guilty last year for allegedly covering up $130,000 in hush money payments to Daniels before the 2016 election. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is assembling his team for the Maryland Council on Innovation and Impact. Moore, who is black, named Johnny Dorsey as chair, while a handful of others are honorary co-chairs. The council will identify ways to strengthen cross-sector partnerships in Maryland. Several other state leaders are included in the council. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
All I need is one mic.
Reparations now has been a rallying cry in this country and around the world for decades. But the demand has taken on new urgency with growing momentum on the issue led by the state of California, which has completed an extensive study and put forth recommendations to enact reparations. California's reparations actions have huge nationwide implications. The California Task Force was the first of its kind in the nation, and the states of New York and Colorado recently voted to take on the issue. Dozens of cities from coast to coast, including San Francisco, Boston, Los Angeles, and Detroit, have started their own reparations commissions. One of the first known reparationists was Callie House, who toured the nation advocating for reparations in the 1890s. But never in this nation's history has the movement to heal the harms of enslavement, institutionalized racism, and the system of white supremacy seemed so strong. The topic remains untouchable for most elected officials, and the call for reparations has not yet garnered widespread public support. Polling shows that most Californians agree that black fellow citizens are still suffering from the damage done by slavery and Jim Crow, but they still do not support cash reparations. The California Legislative Black Caucus has introduced a package of proposals for bills that do not include 1 penny of cash compensation, restitution, or repair. Governor Newsom and other lawmakers have distanced themselves from the concept of cash payments. While Newsom is right, cash alone will not repair our collective harm, the state's goofy legislative package ignoring monetary payments is disingenuous. California lawmakers need to step up and put a reparations bill for cash payments on the table. The issue of how it is funded, the timeline, or whether it impacts our current budget challenges can be addressed. But we must strike while the iron is hot, or the window of opportunity will pass us by. If you agree that it's time for our lawmakers to add a bill enacting cash payments to their lineup, call them at 916-319-3868 and say, if it doesn't include cash, it ain't reparations. That's 916-319-3868. Tell him Callie House sent you. From Bruce's Beach to the California Task Force, the Golden State is a trailblazer when it comes to reparations. The world is watching. We must rise to the historical moment and set a precedent for cash payments along with legislative remedies and policies addressing the systemic badges of slavery and Jim Crow. We must insist on measures significant enough to help close the racial wealth gap. California must stand for cash, and the time for reparations is now. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dominique DePrima. We welcome your comments.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the voice of reason with Zoe Williams. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you ever think about why you're more inclined to attract or be attracted to certain types of people? Or why the people you've dated in the past weren't as compatible with you as you thought? Love involves constant choice, commitment, and work, which all demand an intuitive understanding both of your partner and of yourself. One useful piece of information is learning about you and your partner's attachment styles. The intent of learning about attachment styles isn't to box love up neatly into categories, nor does it mean you're stuck with one attachment style forever. In fact, it's important to note that as time goes on, your attachment style can change from the way you evolve as a lover. If things have become fragile between you and your partner, realize that this is your chance to grow. Here are the 4 attachment styles in love. Number 1, secure. When you have a secure attachment style, you have a great advantage in love. You feel comfortable going to your partner when something is off, and in return, you allow your partner absolute freedom. People with a secure attachment style tend to have honest, open, and equal relationships where both partners can thrive and grow together at a healthy pace. They understand how to merge together to form a stable ground they can stand and operate on. This probably sounds too good to be true, but security is not to be confused with perfection. People with a secure attachment style experience conflict and bad days just like any other couple. But what sets them apart is their higher emotional intelligence that helps them communicate their feelings effectively and their ability to problem solve, rather than attacking their partners. Essentially, they're highly resilient individuals who understand how to move past obstacles with great care and self-awareness. Number 2, anxious, preoccupied. People with an anxious, preoccupied attachment style tend to romanticize love because it's easier for them to form a fantasy bond with someone instead of something based off a reality. They are often attracted to partners they can save, or in some cases, those who can save them. People who have an anxious, preoccupied attachment style can be demanding, obsessive, and clingy. They're prone to overanalyzing situations, having mood swings, and often mistake turbulent relationships for passion. They can struggle from insecurities, low self-esteem, and establishing a strong sense of self, because they grew up without healthy boundaries and little to no guidance on nurturing their individuality. Number 3, dismissive, avoidant. People with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style tend to be emotionally distant in relationships. They come across as self-sufficient, independent, and can avoid true intimacy. Although space is essential for two people to breathe and be themselves in any relationship, people with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style can seek it more frequently to push themselves away from being vulnerable with their partner. If at any point their partner threatens to leave them, they have the ability to shut their emotions down and pretend like they don't care. But extreme independence is an illusion, because humans need connection in order to survive. As a result, people with an avoidant, dismissive attachment style have very few close relationships with others. Number 4, fearful, avoidant. People with a fearful, avoidant attachment style experience a delicate mixture, fearing being both too close or too distant from their lover. They can be unpredictable and are often overwhelmed by their own emotions. They understand they have to approach others in order to find love, but when people get too close to them, they often hurt them. They fear being abandoned, but struggle with being confident in their partner and relying on them. They face a lot of inner conflict between wanting intimacy and resisting it. As a result, they usually experience many highs and lows in relationships, cling to their partners when they feel rejected, and if not careful, can end up in abusive relationships. Similar to the dismissive, avoidant attachment style, these individuals have very few close relationships with others. Accepting what your attachment style is and recognizing...
Oh, Lord! Are we all relationship spiritual paupers? Huh? Are we all spiritually impoverished? Is this how we cultivate self-actualization? Abraham Maslow talked about self-actualization, right? The pyramid, the hierarchy of needs. You know, the Westerner wants to practicalize spirituality. Oh, well, you know, once you have your basic needs together, then you can ascend to the state of apotheosis. Then you can ascend to this state of self-realization. But that's not always the case. If you're not doing the inner work, we are born spiritually struggling. We have all the wealth in the world. We have to mine for it. We have infinite spiritual wealth. We have to mine it. If you don't mine it, you don't get it. So because we're not taught this in school, we've aggrandized unrealistic expectations for our partners. If you just behave this way, if you just provide this way, if you just show up for me this way. And typically, those expectations are a way to support the unhealed work in your spirit, which is now making decisions for the external relationship. You know, well, I'm used to doing it this way. I'm used to being this way. So if you could just understand that, I'm feeling triggered. I feel attacked. Good. That means something is coming to the surface for you to take responsibility for. When we come forward, Dallas, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida.
Is it good to you? More Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams when we come forward.
Have you fallen behind on your water and power bill? LADWP has made paying your past due bills even easier. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to get set monthly bills that include past due amounts. Or check out the special extended payment arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. Visit ladwp.com/cares and sign up today. That's ladwp.com/cares.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick! Sorry, kids! Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision?
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. with more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
So first and foremost, I want you to imagine that you, as a human, because of the past experiences you go through, you get programmed with these key programs I'm going to mention. Number one, basically the idea that connection is scary and it makes you unsafe. And this is because the dismissive avoidant, they come into the world and we're wired biologically for attunement, for connection. And that really, what that means is presence from our caregivers tending to our feelings and needs, checking in with us when we cry, when we're upset, making space for our emotions to be talked about, to be shared, to not be diminished, repressed, or rejected. And when a child grows up in a home where, because of whatever number of reasons, there's some form of emotional neglect that doesn't allow that, basically this person grows up in their adult lives and all of their subconscious programmed associations are: vulnerability is unsafe, I'm just going to be rejected anyways, it doesn't feel good. And then on top of that, because this child basically goes through a dynamic where, since we're wired biologically for connection, for attunement, and then it's basically rejected because the caregivers are emotionally unavailable for whatever number of reasons, a child's prefrontal cortex isn't developed enough to be able to logically, rationally go, oh, my caregivers are emotionally unavailable. So instead a child goes, oh, there must be something wrong with me, I must be defective. And as a byproduct of that, this person develops a huge core belief that they are defective, that in who they are. And that often gets patterned in or programmed in at a very young age. And I want you to imagine that you are that child and you grow up and you go into life with this core belief that you are defective, that connection is unsafe, that you'll only be rejected when you're vulnerable anyways. And it feels really bad to be that way. And then on top of that, you believe that people can't meet your emotional needs and only you are capable of doing that. And that we shouldn't be asking for our needs to be met from others because in your childhood and upbringing, you were made to feel that you can't ask for your needs. And so a child suffers through all of this first, believes these things at a subconscious level, because we see our reality through a filter of our past programs. Even if we're in the same objective reality, for example, we're not experiencing the same objective reality. We are experiencing a subjective interpretation of our reality based on this lens that contains, which is the lens being our subconscious mind, contains all these unique programs because of our past experiences. And so we see through that lens. And if your lens says vulnerability is unsafe, I am shameful at my core. And what does shame make you want to do? Think of when you feel ashamed. The first thing that the emotion of shame makes us want to do is hide, withdraw, protect. So of course we see some of the patterns as a dismissive avoidant that exist, keeping people at arm's distance so that you can't, let's pretend I'm not dismissive avoidant. You don't see that I'm defective at my core. I don't want to be seen too much by you. I'm just going to be rejected long-term anyway, so I need to keep that distance to avoid rejection.
Woo, Lord. That's the real work. Each maladaptive attachment style has work associated with it. Whoever is born that way isn't born to be judged, whether it's anxious, preoccupied, whether it's fearful, avoidant, whether it's dismissive, avoidant, disorganized, attachment style. Nobody is perfect, and nobody should be judged by their imperfections. We should all take this time to understand the spiritual purpose of relationship. This is how we cultivate and grow up spiritually. By acknowledging it's not my mom or my father, it's not their fault that I'm attached or I have an attachment style this way. It's just what happened. And with each attachment style, look at it as a curriculum, a self-curriculum. Let me understand who I am. Right? Let me understand who I am. And I don't have to be defined by what happened to me. I'm still better than what happened to me. I'm still better and more capable than what I modeled. Do you understand? It's a real situation. It's a real situation. Let's get him in here. True Monger. You already know who it is. Dallas, Texas.
That's why I'm sick of getting treated like another damn stepchild. Kill a punk cause I ain't him. You gotta deal with the 9 double limb. The day is coming that you all hate. Just think.
Yeah, True Monger. Come on, man. We gonna keep your theme music on, man. Talk to us.
Oh boy. Which attachment styles are spiritually impoverished? Man, I think people will find fault with all of them.
Even secure, yeah.
Yeah, because some people are intimidated by secure. I've been told that to my face. At first, they admired it because I'm self-reliant. I'm more secure in myself, not really dependent on anything or anyone. And they admire it at first, and then they tell me they feel intimidated by it later on. I'm like, I don't get that, but maybe it's not for me to understand. Maybe it's something their inner work that needs attention. Maybe they've been avoiding it so long they just don't want to face it. Not to say that secure people don't have inner work to do. We always have work to do. We may express ourselves differently. Our attachments might not be ideal for some people because we can stand alone and not be bothered by it. We have people walk away from us and might be upset for a little bit, we'll bounce back from it more often than not. Some people aren't just on good like that. But, I think all of them have been impoverished to some degree. Some just need more nourishment than others. That's just my opinion.
I love it, brother. I love it. And guess what you just did, man?
We brought Dallas in the building.
Dallas, Texas is in the building. National discussion every night. The fire is always lit. We got one more. Let's get on down. Get on down south. Mimi from Jacksonville, Florida. Talk to us, Mimi.
Hey, Zoe. Hey, everyone.
How are ya?
No theme music for me? I see how you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
You never gave us a song. We don't know.
Oh, okay. You don't remember. It's okay. It's okay.
What is... Wait a minute. What is... Here you go.
Hey, Zoe. I'm calling your show.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
This is a great show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's my question. What is your definition of a spiritually together person?
So, what's very interesting, my definition comes from several sources, but let's start here. We're talking about attachment, right? And it was the Buddha who said, attachment is the source of all suffering, right? So it didn't take me very long to wrap my mind around it. Whatever you're attached to, whatever you modeled, right, can be a type of prison. Do you understand? can be a type of prison, especially if it's maladaptive, right? So then I started doing a little research, checking out Abraham Maslow, and he talks about the pyramid of hierarchy, the pyramid of need, hierarchy of needs, and at the top of it is self-actualization. And then I started studying Paramahansa Yogananda, and Paramahansa Yogananda was talking about self-realization. And then I started studying Buddhism, and they started talking about moksha. And I started studying Hinduism, and they started talking about nirvana. And all of those elevated levels of consciousness bring me back to one understanding when it comes to this spiritual question you asked. Freedom. It was Krishnamurti who made it the clearest. Freedom from the known. You have attached to toxicity, and you've made it your norm. Do you know how much we love our mama and our daddies? And they toxic as all get out. It might be covert toxicity. Oh, well, he didn't beat me, but he may not have emoted enough for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he may not have shared enough. She may not have shared. She might have been too controlling. She might be covert narcissistic. Do you get what I'm saying? We always catastrophize. Oh, well, at least I didn't grow up in a house with rats and roaches, and at least I wasn't getting abused every day. You get what I'm saying? But many people don't understand the more subtle forms of abuse that you may have modeled. You get what I'm saying? You may have had everything you needed. You had the lunch box. You had the Lunchable hookup. You had it all. You had the peanut butter and jelly little circles. You had everything except what you needed for your spirit to soar. That becomes a prison where the only key that is available for you is an intimate relationship. I thank you so much for your call. I appreciate you, Mimi. You brought Jacksonville into Florida. When I come forward, it'll be tomorrow, and I'll have another slapper for you to think about. Think on this. The voice of reason is the coldest in the game.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike.